Welcome to the Line Life podcast. I'm Jeff Postlethwaite, Senior Editor of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Hi, this is Amy Fishbach, host of the Line Life podcast and field editor for T&D World magazine. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we feature our interview-style episode for today, I'd love to invite you to become part of our Line Life podcast community by going to linelife.podbean.com. To subscribe to the Line Life podcast, you just need to click follow in the top right, or you can subscribe to the podcast in your favorite podcasting app. New episodes come out every Friday, with interview-style episodes on the first and third Fridays of each month, and narrated audio stories on the second and fourth Fridays of each month. Thanks so much for tuning in and becoming part of our community. Today we're going to be celebrating the line families and those who support the line workers as they work around the clock to keep the power on for their communities. These families are often the ones that keep everything going on at home while their line workers are out on the line restoring power following storms, and provide support and love to these line workers as they're working in every condition imaginable. For the last few years, I've had the chance to meet the families of the line workers, from the children to the wives to the husbands, the parents and the grandparents, and they're all a big community and they all love their line workers. Today, I'm really excited to bring a new episode of the Line Life podcast to you, featuring Kara Pollei, who's the wife of Logan, who started out in the police force and is now an apprentice line worker for Duke Energy. Before I feature my interview with Kara, I'm first going to narrate the Faces of the Future department from the issue of T&D World magazine that featured her husband, Logan Pollei. If you'd like to read the article on our website, you can find it at tdworld.com/electric-utility-operations. The Life of a Line Worker, a journey of hard work and dedication. Insights from a line worker apprentice on training, on-the-job experiences, and the balance between challenges and rewards. Highlights the industry's strong focus on safety. And this was written and is narrated by me, Amy Fishbach. Now here's a little bit about Logan. He's a third-year apprentice line worker. He's married to his wife, Kara, and they have a 2-year-old son named Bryce. He enjoys running and working out with his wife and spending time with his son. He completed a pre-apprenticeship program prior to getting hired on by Duke Energy. He says all the new power tools make his job easier than it used to be with a lot of hand tools. Cutters and presses now take a push of the finger rather than a lot of effort. Safety is a big focus in today's utility industry, which he says is a good thing for apprentices learning the trade. In the future, he sees a continued progression in tools to make jobs safer for line workers. Inspiration for going into line work. I had family friends in the trade and I wanted a good career that worked outdoors. I'm the first one in my family to do line work. Training in the trade. I'm a third-year apprentice and our apprenticeship is a total of 4 years. My local yard has poles to climb and we also have a main training facility that has a training field and a hot room set up. Most of our training is on the job, but once a year we go to our main training center for a school. We also have to test out in front of trainers doing specific tasks to determine if we are allowed to advance to the next level. On the job. I work on a crew of 6 guys. Our day varies based on what work we are given. We do pole changeouts and new installs. The crew works together regardless of status as an apprentice or lineman. Based on what year you are in your apprenticeship, you may be limited on what live voltages you can handle. Challenges and rewards of line work. I think some rules that are in place for apprentices can hold them back from learning. For example, some apprenticeships won't allow the apprentice to handle primary voltage until a year and a half into the apprenticeship. Apprentices may be doing a good job and may be ready to advance sooner, but are limited by rules that are put in place based on their time and not their ability level. Each apprentice progresses at different time frames and the rules should mold around your ability level. Working storms. I've only worked local in-state storms. Generally, we work 16ths every day until the system is restored. We've had a few decent-sized tornado outbreaks that have caused a lot of damage. The crew just keeps taking tickets until the job is done. Life in the trade. I think it's a great job. It's a great combination of using your hands and using your brain. My favorite part is working outdoors every day. Secrets for success in an apprenticeship. You have to be a hard worker. Everybody needs to do their part. Apprentices who want to learn and like to listen to instruction do well. Those who can't take criticism and don't put in effort do not do well. Attention to detail matters in this trade. Advice to other apprentices. Make sure you actually want to do the job and aren't just interested in money. You work in hazardous situations in the worst of weather conditions. It takes focus and effort to do the job safely. Listen to the line workers who have been doing the job for longer than you and don't be a know-it-all. Focusing on safety. Our company takes safety very seriously. We cover up the right way and don't take unnecessary risks. Safety is the most important thing in the trade. One moment of being careless can get you or others killed. Future plans. In the future, I will continue to learn and progress in the trade. Editor's note. If you would like to nominate an apprentice for Faces of the Future, please email me at amyfishbach@gmail.com. All profiled apprentice line workers will receive a tool package from Milwaukee Tool. Now let's feature the interview that I had with Logan's wife, Kara, at the 2024 International Linemen's Expo. So, Kara, thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of the Line Life podcast. To begin, can you talk about what brought you and Logan out to Kansas City for the International Linemen's Rodeo Week?
He actually, this is second year. He originally worked with Bloomington Transmission. He laddered over to Rochester. Perfect. With Duke Energy.
Okay, so now he's an apprentice, you said third year?
Yep.
So, Kara, now can you talk about what it's like to be the wife of a line worker? Do you worry about him when he goes out on storm duty?
I do. I definitely worry about him. His previous job before this was, police work.
Okay.
So it was kind of our whole
Kind of the
marriage
same,
has been
right.
a little bit worrisome, but I trust him. And he's really smart and safe. He takes his time with things.
Good.
So that is something I don't ever worry about.
Right.
When it comes to safety. He doesn't skip steps and he won't ever. It's just not, if somebody else is doing that, he's not going to jump into that. So, he will always, I think, take his time and just make sure he's doing everything correctly.
Wonderful. And then how do you stay in touch with him when he's working out on a storm or away from home for a long period of time?
Texting. But a lot of times when they're working, they don't have service.
Right.
So we'll go a little while without talking to one another. And I think the hard part too is it's not like, a 9-to-5 job where you're off work, when they're coming home. It could be hours or it could be days, and they could stay overnight somewhere, or they could be working 16 hours straight. And that's a little worrisome too, when it comes to lack of sleep. But yeah, through text message mainly, and I have a 2-year-old at home, so he and I just hang out and wait for dad to text or call if he can. So.
And then do you and Logan have a son or a daughter?
Son.
A son. That's wonderful. What's his name?
Bryce.
We'll make sure to give a shout out to Bryce on this Line Life podcast episode.
Yeah.
Very good.
I miss him.
And then also, can you talk about the camaraderie of the line wives? I've heard that the line wives often have a camaraderie. Have you had a chance to meet some of the other wives at Duke Energy?
I've met one of them because there is a new apprentice working with Rochester Duke Energy, and he just started. The only reason I met his wife was because of the local rodeo. He did try and compete for it, so she went to that. She was great. And because they're fresh into the work, it was interesting because she would ask me questions, and you try not to scare anybody with you don't want to do that.
Right.
It's not like that. It's just reality, I guess.
Yes.
If they ask you questions, you're not going to lie about it. But yeah, her specifically, she's awesome. She actually just had a baby too. So she's got a newborn at home. So yeah, the being further away when you have a newborn, I think is going through it myself. That was a little more difficult. Once they're older, it's not as hard, but when you have a baby at home, it's hard.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So, but I met her. I've met his coworkers, just not their wives. So yeah, but I'm sure, if I met them, it would be one of those things where we all understand.
Yeah, I've heard there's a bond there too. And then there's a lot of social media groups. So make sure you get involved with those.
Yes.
And then talk about the International Lineman's Rodeo Week. What do you guys like about coming out here to Kansas City for the week?
I came last year. And we love it. I mean, it's very cool to get around a group of people who understand your lifestyle and understand time and how precious it is, and it's really great for us too, because it's just the two of us here this weekend. My mother-in-law's watching our son. So
That's great.
Trip for us to be alone. Not that I don't want him here, but it just adds on an additional.
I get it. I'm a mom too.
Yeah.
I get it.
So,
yeah, I
it's just
know.
like,
Absolutely.
you want them here, but at the same time, it's really enjoyable just to be, the two of us.
Oh,
So,
that's special time.
yeah. Yeah. And I do also like the organization. Like, they have everything so like down to the point of, you could ask somebody and they know where to go. They know, where everything's at. And the hotel is always like, super taken care of, and the shuttles are taken care of. And the rodeo itself is very organized. I like that because, when things are like, you have no idea where you're going.
Yes, they'll take good care of you. So at the International Lineman's Rodeo, how do you feel about being able to watch him showcase his skills and be able to cheer him on the sidelines? Because I know that's pretty rare to be able to see him at work.
I was very impressed last year. I think with a lot of people, it's such a like particular skill, and like the handwork that that goes behind it, and just the fine detail is pretty amazing. But yeah, I was very impressed with him last year. I don't like watching when there's pressure. So I like watching, but I don't, because I would rather almost just like, ask how he did afterwards.
Right.
Like, go watch somebody else and be like, oh, you did good. Okay. But, yeah, he did really well last year and didn't really mess anything up when it came to the actual field test. So that was really nice. But again, there was pressure. But when you don't mess up anything, if you lose 1 point, you're like,
Right.
So yeah, I think it made me nervous, but it was fun to watch.
So how did he get ready for this year? I know they probably have the tests going on right now at the Overland Park Convention Center.
Yeah. Crazy enough, he and I were supposed to run the Chicago Marathon last weekend.
Really?
Yeah, so I ran it.
Oh my
He
goodness.
has
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
great.
thank you. He has a torn meniscus.
Oh, no.
And a
That's
sprained
cool.
ACL.
Yeah. Ouch.
So he kind of had to choose, to do
Right.
the marathon or to do the rodeo. And he still raised a bunch of money for the marathon, but chose the rodeo, which is great. So he's going to really like wrap up his knee and hope for the
Right.
best. So as far as physical,
Uh-huh.
he didn't really get to do
Yeah.
a whole lot of climbing, because they have poles at his work where he can practice on
Sure.
them, and plenty of, time that he can do that. But as far as like actually getting to do that, it was kind of slim. So he wanted to make sure he actually could get up the pole,
Right.
and- so he doesn't get stuck up there. So yeah, he was able to do that. And then academic wise, he honestly started studying, I would say 2 months, maybe 1 to 2 months after the last rodeo.
I can believe it. I've heard from other apprentices that test is extremely difficult.
That book,
Mhm.
I mean, he's been in that book nonstop. So it's been truly like nice to watch him, and see how studious he is and how bad he wants it.
So what is your advice to other line wives out there who may be listening to this episode?
My advice would be patience.
Mhm.
I mean, truly, like, it's something I'm still learning without a doubt. And I think through, like I said, being a police wife and then now a line wife, like, there's a lot of commonalities between the two as far as like, their schedule goes and being worried. But like, I'm someone of faith, and I think it's just kind of one of those things that you can't worry 24/7. You kind of have to like put your faith in the fact that like they're okay. They're going to be smart. They're going to be safe. Life is not something that you can just worry about 24/7.
I agree.
You just can't, because it doesn't do you any good. So I would say, trying not to stress too much about it, and then just having patience, like I said, with their schedule. And then when, they're not home and they get held over an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, like, they don't want to be held over. They're doing their job and they're helping people.
Right.
And I think that's something to always remember is, if you were the one out of power,
Right.
and you didn't have, cold air going to your refrigerator or water, and you're not able to be in your house because it's too hot, or too cold, you would want somebody to help you as soon as they could, so that's their job. And that's what they're doing as quickly as they possibly can. So, and working with Duke Energy this year has been very, especially with the hurricanes, it's been really unique because he's one of, I think, 3 maybe that are here from Duke. Everybody else is still on storm. So that's their job, and they're trying their absolute hardest to get other people back, with their power. And it's so important, just like any other job that has like a, prime reason that they're doing it, like that's their job. So patience, like try and be as patient as you can, because again, they don't want to be doing that. So,
Well, Kara, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed talking to you.
yeah, you too.
Again, if you know of an apprentice line worker who we should profile in our Faces of the Future department, or a journeyman line worker that we should highlight in our line worker focus department in T&D World's print magazine, please email me, Amy Fishbach, at amyfishbach@gmail.com. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn to send me a message through social media. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Line Life podcast. And if you're planning to be in Kansas City this October for the International Linemen's Expo, please swing by the T&D World booth to participate in an interview for a future podcast episode. I'd love to feature you and your Line family in an upcoming episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Line Life podcast.
This episode of the Line Life podcast was written, recorded, and edited by Amy Fishbach. It was produced by Jeff Postlewaite. That's me. To listen to past episodes, visit www.tdworld.com/podcasts or find us at Podbean. You could also drop us a voice memo or message at linelifepodcast@gmail.com with your comments on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please follow this show on Podbean or your favorite podcasting app to be updated when new episodes are released. Thank you for listening.